Won't have that Jarvan to threaten this time around since they gave it over to Hanwha Life Esports last time. Let's see what Gen.G have in mind.
It's kind of insane to me that Jarvan has been a thorn in the side of Gen.G for so long. Even when it was Peanut on the roster, 2023, that series at Worlds against BLG, I think still stinging in the mind of many a Gen.G fan. And no longer available now thanks to Fearless. This is where these two teams are going to get tested more than ever. We already talked a little bit about the top lane matchup. Gen.G are not guaranteed anything when it comes to counterpick. So we'll see what choices they make on the blue side. What is the prioritization going to be of the picks that are still left in the game?
It's pretty interesting to see immediately they're cutting down on some of the big tier list carries that we still have left over in the Yone and the Sivir. No focus on top lane, none on jungle just yet for the blue side bans here of Gen.G, whereas on the side of Hanwha Life Esports on the red side, they kind of just have to follow the playbook that Gen.G were doing.
Did mention the Sejuani pick. It's been a big favorite of Peanuts in the past. The Yone, obviously a big favorite of Zeka's, so I do think that ban makes a ton of sense. When you're on the blue side, you can afford those extra resources.
So all roads lead to Sejuani Maokai? Is that what you're saying, Wolf? No! No, they don't!
Not in this one. Woo! Not in this one.
I don't know if you can even force a double melee Sejuani draft anymore with what's gone in the mid lane. No Sylas, no Yone, no Akali even.
Yeah.
You've got Jax in the top lane.
Hey, you got Zed. That's a mid laner, right, guys?
Yeah. No Kiana mention, please.
Wolf, I hate to say it, but might come through in this one.
Surely not blind B1, though. We'll wait and see what this comp is going to look like here.
What will it be?
I mean, so many of these prio picks are gone.
Lucian's
Pantheon also available here for Canyon. I feel like Canyon's Pantheon's been very hit or miss, though, throughout these playoffs.
I like Pantheon. I think that's a good shout. Easy setup. I do agree with you. I don't think Pantheon performance for Canyon has really been anything standout. Also had a pretty lackluster game on the lead, but it is one of the biggest power picks in the current meta, so picking it up should not come as a surprise here.
On red side here, you get two picks. You could lock up a jungler for Peanut and a prio bottom lane pick. I mean, so many of the engage tools are gone here. If you want to go for something super easy to scale with, that's definitely an option here on the side of Hanwha Life Esports.
I'm looking at Nocturne and possibly. This has popped up more and more in jungle, but it's just going to be the Skarner. Not very interesting. Also like this from a pick-away perspective. Gen.G have actually been one of the few teams that still consistently look good with the Skarner, and you obviously have an insane amount of scaling.
The Victor pick was the one I had in mind when I mentioned scaling, though, because there are very few tools available to collapse onto a carry like Victor left in the pool. And like Camille Galio, for example, one of those types of combos now completely off the card, so you could even scale further here if you have a strong front line. They already have the Skarner.
I really don't like it. The combination of Skarner Victor to me just screams you have zero mid-game impact. Like absolutely none. It's such a weak 2v2 and you're playing into Casio Pantheon. Chovy played it for the first time in his competitive career, as we saw very recently. Had a great game on it. And Gen.G, I think they were lacking a lot of power. Those issues, at least in this first part of the draft, have been solved.
It's definitely a very interesting start. We're already getting some of those weird picks coming through, stuff that we just don't see all that often in the Casio, at least, as Blitzcrank, a big one for Duro, and he's just gonna slam it down in the first rotation. It says, I see Victor, I look to hook Victor.
Yeah, that's certainly one way you can get some engage to pull the Victor out of a fight, take him out just immediately. But it is going to require a lot of other things to go right. You're going to have to hit that hook, and there's going to be more frontline here potentially for Zeus. They could play the Ornn here and just look to scale completely with this draft. I would not hate it here for Hanwha Life. Instead, we match one grab with another. Oh, right.
In game number 4.
A bit outright, by the way, by the Blitzcrank.
That's insane to me. I like the matchup into Blitz specifically. Obviously for Blitz, Pyke should never be able to be a hook target. There are still a lot of AD carries that in short range 2v2s have an incredible amount of impact. But if Delight doesn't have a crazy game, I again want to remind everyone, We've seen Victor really be passed over very often because it just feels like the champion early on doesn't do enough. And I still think that the Gen.G composition has really good side lane impact, has very scary pick potential, and a lot more power in those early skirmishes that I think have been so game deciding in this series thus far.
And I think if you have Pyke, one of your best things you could do when you roam around the map is clear vision and threaten flanks and things of the like. But without guaranteed strong mid game with a Victor, it just feels like it's going to be hard to pull that off. And so many of these scenarios, Aatrox is banned here. Might see a Renekton to follow if they are kind of angling for that Ornn pick potentially here in the top lane, as those are two of the stronger picks in the matchup left available. Maybe Kalista instead, however.
Yeah, definitely not that many AD carries left up either.
Especially
Xayah,
ones that pair with Blitzcrank.
yeah, Xayah's one of them.
Do you really want to play Xayah
Tristana?
either into like Victor Pyke or on the other end? I think the Tristana actually is a really good shout, Valdez.
Yeah.
It's something that
Tristana,
they hovered
Pyke.
last time.
Yeah.
A lot of thought going into this one. This is such a unique scenario. I haven't really quite seen picks like this. I'll ban the Jax away here from Zeus. Has had phenomenal performances on this pick this year, even though it's been a niche top pick. And a lot of discussion into this one. Do you want some strong side lane power to buy time for your scaling, or do you simply just want to sit on Ornn and build ornaments and say, my late game is going to be better than yours no matter what?
I just don't think you can get away with an Ornn here. I think you have to pick for Viper, find a power pick and a counter pick for Zeus. Let's not forget, this man made his name on Jace, on Cannon.
Well,
But oh, look at the top side! It's Ornn, Skarner, Victor!
And this really weakens the Pyke pick, I feel, extremely, because you just don't have an angle. You don't have damage to follow up on any of his potential flanks or roams. So this Pyke pick really sticks out like a sore thumb to me. The Ornn, I feel, would have been better served with any sort of melee engage support. The Xayah you mentioned is now looking to be locked in here for Ruler. And I think this was just going to lead us to a Zeri pick for Viper here in the end, ultimately. This draft here for Hanwha Life is almost as gritty as Gen.G's in the previous game.
almost. At least they have a bit more damage, especially if they slam that Zeri last. And now you don't have that many picks, but you could still play Renekton here.
Yeah, Renekton's up.
I don't love the Renekton. I'd rather have something with more side lane pressure, because Renekton into Ornn isn't a great matchup. We've seen Ornn picked into it a lot. The Yorick would make sense. What I want to highlight, though, is that, especially if they go Zeri here, I think the Hanwha comp is way better, but I would argue it's even greedier. Like, I think your damage issues aren't nearly as prevalent, but you legitimately have so little power in the early game, in your lanes, outside of, like, big wombo combos.
Yeah, you have to basically just give up every objective, trade as many as you can.
I think he's saying Lucian.
Oh
yeah.
man, this is not
That's a good
what I
pressure
expected
point.
to see, but it's great with the Pyke. It kind of saves the Pyke for me a little bit here, because now you have a strong 2v2, and even in early skirmishes, there's some extra power the Victor, the Skarner, and the Ornn are not going to provide. Sure, the Ornn and the Skarner have great CC, but they didn't. If they went for something like a Zeri, you just wouldn't be able to follow up with it very well. But the Lucian burst in those early skirmishes may be able to get Hanwha Life an objective or two. Just a single dragon might allow this Victor to scale later on. But otherwise, there's side lane pressure here on Gen.G. They have the Pantheon to protect it. The Cassiopeia, which does so much damage in the mid game, and even later on in the late game if Gen.G are ahead, plus the threat of the Blitzcrank, the extra insurance policy that Gen.G has. I'm going to have to lay in with you, Chronicler, on this one. I think Gen.G ended up with a much stronger draft here in this fourth game.
It's just hard to see Hanwha Life get to a point where I think that the draft, if you can get through the early game, is way better than what Gen.G had last game. I just think actually getting there is going to have to be an incredible exercise of being able to know when can we fight, getting the big combos, and it might be through that bot lane. Maybe Peanut can have an early impact on the Skarner, get the Pyke and Lucian ahead. That will unlock the map at least in a decent amount, but I worry for Hanwha Life. If they can get to the promised land, I think they have a good shot.
So much comfort here on the side of Gen.G. Just can't wait to see it play out. As we are ready, let's hop onto the rift for game number 4.
Gen.G. 하나, 둘, 셋. 하나 생명. 하나, 둘, 셋.
Hanwha Life Esports fans are desperate. They want a Game 5. They want Silver Scrapes to be played once again. There's something interesting we actually saw earlier on before the start of the day, that we have an equal amount in these playoffs of 3-0s, 3-1s, and 3-2s. It felt like we've had so many silver scrapes, but actually it's exactly even between all the different score lines so far from the 9 matches that we've had. So it's, there's no pattern here really. It's just up for grabs here in match number 10, the grand finals.
I think it's in part due to the fact that we've had some cool upsets in some series that went the distance that you didn't expect. That is why it feels that way. We do have the Viper swap to come through here once more, and this is not a surprise considering that they have the Ornn here, so the Ornn can absorb a lot of this bottom 2v2 while you see this Yorick struggle into the Lucian. So a power pick there for Viper. Yeah. That also helps the Ornn alleviate some of that pressure there as well.
The Lucian is just a fantastic solo laner. We saw actually the replay in the pre-show of him laning against a Jace. I forget who was playing that, but he was just absolutely stomping him, which, a Lucian should, especially early on, as we're going to have some brawling down on the bottom side, but with Ruler here, probably not going to find a lot of angles for Zeus and Delight.
I think it was Doran in that particular game.
Ooh, little invade here from Canyon. We'll see if Zeka spots this out, but I mean, he's just level 1, more concerned with his own lane, so there should be a little quick steal away here without too much of a hassle. As Delight, he's level 1, and obviously you're always going to look for the roam. Will get found here, but there is Canyon.
Yeah, Zeka just going to flash this one and try to get away. The poison is down. They don't have enough damage. It's Delight, still level 1. Saying hello,
+1 World Atlas stack.
Yeah. Huge.
Well, this is something that Wadid has mentioned a lot in terms of the Viper swap, is how important it is for the supports to make the right calls, often sitting at level 1 throughout this early game. The first 3 minutes of the game, you need to find value somewhere. And in this case, unfortunately, because Canyon was able to predict that, go to the Raptor camp, and then be able to cover for Chovy, not only is he unsuccessful at finding anything, but it's a flash get onto this Victor early on. So really well played and prepared here by Gen.G.
And as a reminder for everyone, Hanwha Life's composition, I really don't think it runs into the same issues as the one that Gen.G did last game. They actually do have a good amount of damage.
Try number 2.
The Ornn can be quite dangerous. But Duro is here, right? There's just not really anything that I think they can threaten onto Chovy, and Cassio is one of those champs where if you mess up, life gets very hard. There's also the fact that Delight is playing Pyke into a good amount of point-and-click CC, as well as the miasma from Cassio, which is going to be very tough to pilot here.
Yeah, definitely will. I think Delight just hanging around mid, trying to pick up level 2, which he did do.
Yeah, he's not able to do anything pre-level 3, of course, here in the top lane because of the lane swap detection. So has to find what he can, but is unable to get anything on the Chovy. Now that we're post 3 minutes, he can come up here and try to further the lead here into this Yorick.
Yeah, you can hook Ornn, but obviously he has W, so he's not bothered.
He's just threatening him, always keeping him on his toes. Got that finger on that W key. And Peanut's going to take down the first scuttle.
Are they going to look for a dive? The wave state is kind of awkward here. Peanut will get spotted, and I don't really think there's an angle. Keen has actually been doing a good job of keeping his health bar full. Still has 2 cookies, so should be okay.
Nice. That's what happens when you keep him on your toes. You never know. Lands the hook, it doesn't matter. We do have a bit of a dive here. Setting up in the top lane as let's see if Keen can survive with a flash stun into the wall, and that's enough damage for Viper as he picks it up, has to flash away, but his first blood onto Hanwha Life Esports is 80 carry.
And this is the power of the Lucian.
Zeka no flash!
Oh, Zeka in trouble.
Yeah, this was very confusing, trying to go for that control ward. He is going to have the flash come out here from Canyon, but it might be enough as he's going to taxi out of the Raptors, and Victor with no flash, trying to kill a control ward, just gets punished here, and it's kill over to Chovy as well.
Canyon doesn't even get the assist.
Yeah, I mean, he missed the Q. But at the end of the day, like, especially in this case for Zeka, when Canyon doesn't show up here, I think it might be a sign that you probably shouldn't try to clear that ward.
Yeah, that's especially with no flash. That's definitely not something that Zeka should have been allowed to get away with.
We've been talking about this, I feel like, for the last 3 years since Zeka won a world championship about his improvement in champion pool, but I don't know if Victor ever really made the Zeka list of champs that really he has mastery on. He's not really the type of guy who plays control mages or scaling mages. You never see this guy pull out the Aurelian Soul, let's just put it that way. But yeah, in this case, really overestimating where what he could do in the mid lane there with no flash.
For Hanwha Life, it's still a go positive trade because a big wave went into the turret, and Keen not being able to grab a lot of that makes his life a little harder. Did go for the call. The biggest thing is that Viper picked up the kill and is currently sitting on a pretty sizable gold lead, which you want with your Pyke and Lucian bot lane, obviously. And that is going to be the intended bridge into this point where the Skarner, the Ornn, and the Victor really have reached that peak level of efficiency.
There's just so much strategy that's gone into this early game. I love to see it. You know, in this 4th game of Fearless in our grand finals, like all of the micro things, like Canyon going for that counter where he's able to shut down Delight's level 1 on the Viper swap. Then the dive comes there topside because they swapped to Lucian. They didn't go for scaling, they went for burst. They get that success. And you know, you can see Hanwha Life Esports have really mastered this composition, but Gen.G have also expected so much of this and have been able to answer some of it here in this early game.
Level 6 is available here for Canyon. Did actually pick it up off his grump, but obviously topside is very mobile.
Jay's going in trying to beat this one, and he will be successful. Now, can they get the kill onto Keen is the question. And with Peanut here at level 5, I think you've got enough damage, but the sustain here for Keen is pretty large, and Zeus is being chunked down, has to run away. It's just going to be Keen versus Peanut. And this is a very long lane down on the bottom side, but eventually going through the wall, and the follow-up comes in from Zeus to clap him down and get the kill. With the Maiden being annoying, but it's still an eventual kill to HLE.
Close margins on that one.
I was a little worried. I've seen Yorick's turn those around. Maybe if we had Flash, could have outplayed that, but Flash was used in the earlier attempt. We'll get a TP towards mid, but Zeka should be fine this time around. Flash is back up. And it is Peanut again making the early impact. 2 kills already here on this Skarner as the bait. Very successful here.
Yeah, this is really well played by Zeus. He baits it incredibly well. Obviously has the ultimate here, he knows cannot be stopped. And then Peanut gets max range here, the shove into the wall. Zeus recognizes here that if he stays and tries to chase alone, he will actually die. Backs away. Peanut gets into melee range and also has his cooldown just coming back so he can get through the wall here, but guarantees those slows so that Zeus can flash for the finish there with the brittle proc as the last hit.
It's a big deal that Zeus flashes though. If he doesn't and Keen gets a moment to maybe get another Q off, that could have been the difference maker. That's going to be Grubs traded for Dragon, it looks like. Hanwha Life, anything that isn't the gold deficit, even the slightest of gold leads, staying even, are immensely big wins for this composition, I would say.
Yeah, you're definitely feeling very good, especially with the wave pushing into you and bottom side. There was a big wave that just went into Zeus, so you're getting even more gold effectiveness across the map, essentially. Certainly the Victor at this point is a weak point. You know, he's behind on gold compared to Chovy. But, you know, as you mentioned, if you just sit back, you scale, you farm, you just wait until Zeka has 3 items, he will eventually be a threat in this game, even if he's not going to be the main character of this one, which at this point appears to be Viper with that first blood he picked up, and this last pick Lucian in Game 4. Weren't sure exactly what to expect from him. We were thinking about Zeri. There wasn't a lot of options left, so had to go for something. And Lucian's got a dash and can deal with the Blitzcrank.
I mean, it's a bit of a trade-off in terms of what you could do with the early game as Delight. Let's see what he can get done here.
Now looking for the hook, but Duro, nice block. And at the end of the day, we're going to have a big trade win to HLE as Viper throws in the culling. And Roller has to back off.
One of my biggest pieces of criticism when it comes to Canyon, his Pantheon specifically, is that it seems like he really always wants to play it 100% with the ultimates. And as a result, I don't think he gets off enough. Now, a lot of targets are actually quite hard to play for. Ornn is obviously very safe, has his W, a lot of tankiness. You need to be aware of where Peanut is, and the bot lane is hyper mobile. But if I see Canyon again go without a single ultimate until like 15 minutes into the game, your assignment as Pantheon is to snowball this early game. Full clearing on Pantheon is something that I remember him doing in like 2021. Dumb one, back when that did still work. It's not the meta we're in right now.
No, certainly not. But he could still later on empower this Yorick in sides. The problem is the Yorick has already been killed twice and is significantly behind in this game. And so that win con has kind of thinned out a little bit here. The question will become for me, the vibe I have in this game is, even though Zeka scales incredibly well, we'll have an ornament, will he be able to perform? with the gold lead, or not the gold lead, but with the scaling elements that Hanwha Life have for him? That's the big question, as he's played 15 games of Victor in his career. He's got nearly a 50% win rate, just below that right now. And I wonder what the performance is going to be, because it needs to be big, because Canyon's got an angle here, potentially. Duro, it won't be.
Yeah, thought maybe he could get Zeka's flash. That's really the most he should be able to get. And we talked a lot about Hanwha scaling, and I do think that it's absolutely insane. There are, though, when you look at not only the Gen.G comp, which is Yorick, Cassio, and Xayah, all of which are big late-game threats, but both Lucian and Pyke, I think, will actually struggle somewhat when we get to the later stage of the game, where very small missteps will get punished heavily. So maybe Gen.G's read is that, yes, they have insane scaling towards the top side of the map, but to me, scaling really feels only like insanely oppressive when it comes to scaling plus range. And that isn't necessarily there, as Peanut might be looking for something towards bot.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about Canyon kind of just farming it out, whereas Peanut's been very proactive along every lane, essentially. He's been everywhere. He's buying on farm, of course, and he's going to be a bit behind on gold, but he has 2 assists, and he's still going to hit his heart steal eventually, so he's not really bothered at the end of the day playing Skarner.
Goes back to Canyon's quote in the trash talk at the beginning of the day. You know, you want to go for ganks, so I'm going to clear your jungle. I'm just going to clear fast. I'm going to take the whole thing. And he has done that in this game. And it's still only 180 gold that he has the advantage over Peanut, who has those 2 assists. You know, you mentioned the range, Chronicler, that is sometimes really one of the biggest elements of scaling. But one of my kind of maybe counterpoints to what Hanwha scaling could look like in this game is the front line that allows you to, even at fairly low range, still find big damage. But it's going to be about positioning. This is where I'm sometimes concerned about Zeko doesn't have an escape on this Victor into the Blitzcrank, or Viper is going to be trying to dash to follow up to maybe a Skarner knock into the wall, who might find himself getting hooked by the Blitzcrank as well.
Yeah, there's also the fact that Gen.G has a ton of setup that actually is really good at taking down frontliners, right? Cassio and Xayah both. Even Yorick, I think, actually do a decent job of that. Now, if you'd asked me which comp would I prefer, I'd still go Hanwha, but I do think that mention of some of the Gen.G scaling might be warranted. Because based on how Gen.G is playing, I feel like their read leans more towards that than we need to win early game. We've seen Gen.G actually play really aggressively for early objectives, early skirmishes. Not getting that feeling in this game as second Drake is about to spawn. Do imagine they want to not give Double Dragon over to Hanwha.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a bit of an issue if the Victor and the Ornn and the Skarner are just getting Double Drake. And you can see that Gen.G going to be moving in here. The Thunder Sky just picked up for Canyon at about 12 minutes, so really want to utilize this power spike for the side of the Gen.G jungler. I mean,
this is a Victor with 1 stack of Rod of Ages.
Yeah.
So this is the dragon you probably don't want to force the fight for here as Hanwha Life. Zeus is backing and does have TP.
Yeah.
I just don't think this is going to work out. Peanut looking for something else.
Yeah, Miasma pretty good against Skarner.
Yep.
Gonna immediately shut that down. Doesn't take back from the fact that Zeka's actually doing a pretty good job in this lane, even though he did die that one time kind of awkwardly. He has been able to exert some pressure, at least in the 1v1. Still behind on gold, of course.
Gen.G want more than a dragon. You could just tell. They're not starting it. They're looking for picks. Gold gone for Zeka.
They're really trying to force Chovy out of this lane, but it's not going to work. As Chovy's just healing up a bit, and as you mentioned, yeah, they're just kind of roaming as a death squad.
I'm kind of wondering if they swept that brush or like Scryer orbed it, because they really don't seem to be aware of the ward. They keep trying to go for these bait setups.
I mean, Duro's just going to flash away from the damage just to make sure as the burst comes in. There's the hook on a Peanut. Do they have the damage, though? Yes, they absolutely do. As Zeus on the flank gets the double knockup. As the burst comes in, the Arcane Storm is out.
Chovy?
As now Chovy, he wants more. He is desperate for something more, but not going to keep them around for long enough. In goes Canyon, but he's taking a bunch of damage. Flashes on in on the Zeka. Down goes Zeus as well. Just chunks the 2 of them down. As Viper finally going to get the 1. Delight also picks up yet another kill. As now looking for Chovy. He's going to get in close and does get the hook down. And they're getting so much more over the back of this fight for HLE.
And Delight ends up picking up 2 kills, but with the cut, he's giving so much gold over so many of the members here to Hanwha Life Esports, and he just played that skirmish so incredibly well. He saved it for Hanwha Life.
Rare mistake from Keen there. I think really overplayed his hand towards the end. That was what started that chain of events. Because as we take a look here, really nicely done here. No playmaking potential, no impale there. Even with Zeus trying to save his jungler, and it's a trade that's favorable for Gen.G. But really, their chase without Blitz isn't that great, right? You see Chovy trying to hard force with the ultimate, but it's when Canyon arrives that it looks like this is just a complete win here for Gen.G. But then Keen and Chovy overextend into Viper for I think no reason. You'd won that play. You got the dragon, you got favorable kills. Instead, Delight gets to start the resets, generate a ton of gold, and it's a gold positive play for Hanwha Life.
And now he's got his Umbro Glaive, which with this composition interacts kind of awkwardly just because they don't have a lot of power just yet with the Rod of Ages, Victor, and Ornn. But it can be a problem if Hanwha Life Esports later on start to get a little bit more map control. He could really start choking out the vision here and give Hanwha Life the opportunity to further scale. As you can see, that's a lot of money on this Pyke early on.
Yeah, the biggest gold lead by far in the bottom lane, going to Delight over Duro, even though Delight is down a level. Doesn't matter, that's just the way that Pyke works. As Heartsteel finished for Peanut, they're going to look at this Rift Herald, and they're bursting it down quite fast with the Lucian. In comes Canyon, and he's certainly curious about this, but yeah, they just can't even get close to it. And Delight actually going to pick up the eye.
A safe call there, I suppose. This is the kind of situation for Hanwha we were talking about before, though. It's like any gold lead you have feels pretty good. Any objective you can take feels good. They got a dragon. Now they have the Herald. And with the Herald, you can, basically guarantee a lot of prio around the map, or even that turret early on into the game. And that just makes you so much safer now through a mid-game where you're a lot more comfortable now than I think you otherwise should be as Hanwha Life.
For Gen.G, the fact that they got the free grubs, I think, is actually a really nice setup, because what we haven't really talked about yet is the potential for a 1-3-1 from Gen.G, because both Cassio and Yorick are insanely strong side laners. You do have the Pantheon as well to cover from a really large distance. My only worry with that is that if Delight is able to just play his game, Pyke can rotate so quickly from lane to lane.
Oh, Ruler. Oh, he doesn't want to use that ult, but he will be forced to at the end of the day. And he could have avoided a decent amount of that damage if he just used it early.
Delight's looking.
Delight's looking for it. The ult comes in and Ruler's just free. Not looking, doesn't barrier, doesn't flash. Meanwhile,
is he out?
Oh, no way. It's so incredible. Just gets out with the Rift Herald.
There's no turret.
There's no turret. Delight is just a menace in this game. He's 3-0. He wants a bit more than a redemption. I think is going to stop the play as Delight takes a bunch of damage from the Maiden, but
they get a TP out of Chovy into the mid lane as well, and I think this is where Hanwha Life could say, all right, that's enough. We'll take this 100%. Now almost a 3,000 gold lead for this squad here at 18 minutes.
And it's the Delight X Factor as he is able to get that pick onto Ruler, caught shopping, not ready for the Pyke to hunt him down. And the turret falls in top. They don't get the counter kill. And Ruler here, really, as Velda's highlighted, wants to hold onto his ult.
And look at where Delight is before this even all transpires. He was already heading over.
Knows he's not being spotted.
Yeah, there's a control ward there. He has Umbro Glaive. He knows there's just no way Ruler's going to be able to react. I mean, I suppose he could have if he was incredibly fast or not with Tab or Shock.
You gotta know Pyke is looking for that, though.
That's the thing you have to keep in mind, is that there's a Pyke on the enemy team. And then even if you're backing under your turret, you're not safe. If you're at that low of health. And that's just to expound upon the fact that he didn't ult himself early on to avoid the damage from Viper. I wanted to hold on to everything, and he got punished for that and got low enough that Pyke was able to just take him down. We didn't mention that there is a Chemtech Soul on the Rift here, which, you got an Ornn, you got a Skarner here on the side of HLE. Feeling pretty good about that.
Even Cassio and Yorick, I think, aren't too sad about it.
It's a really good angle for the Chemtech Soul.
Oh, might be looking at an actual 5v5 here again. After a lost Drake fight. Delight. Half of second item also done. Ruler does have his cooldowns back available now.
Yeah. I do feel like if Gen.G keep a Phalanx, if they all stay together and keep the Cassio and Xayah together, it's not going to be easy for Pyke to get these big moves. And speaking of which, they're going to get the flash immediately out of Viper and the cleanse. The culling on top of it all, and Peanut's just trying to get in. He's going to steal it away, and he's Skarner. He just laughs his way to the bank and goes all the way away. As yes, they are going to get this hook here on Zeus. But it's just the one kill here for Gen.G as they lose the Drake in the trade.
We'll see if Gen.G wants to turn it into more. I think Otacon might be an option here with Zeus going down, and they are not happy with that first play, but that might be Delight's opportunity to shine.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it was still a huge win for Hanwha in terms of the microcosm of the Dragon, because Peanut, his smites have been phenomenal today.
Oh, trying to catch Chovy here. It's not quite going to work out as they got to know this Otacon has started.
And with that cooldown gone, I think that's just it. Viper doesn't have flash. They cannot continue any further here to try to take this objective away from Gen.G, so Gen.G will take it. 11-9 Petals will explode into a larger experience lead here with the adaptive force that'll come with it. 22-9 now, but I think it's the right call not to force that fight after that does miss from Peanut. But Hanwha Life, the lead was much larger than it is now. As long as they can stem the bleeding here, it's not a disaster, but Gen.G kind of got what they were looking for after this, and this getting both summoners out of Viper also furthers the issues later on.
A bit of miss there from Zeus as well, because if Duro gets caught by that, he's dead, right? But the flash comes through, Duro's fine, Peanut finds a really nice steal, but Zeus, it's so hard to get away from the Blitzcrank, his effective range. What this does highlight, though, is something that I think we're going to keep seeing as well, particularly with the amount of single target damage that Gen.G has. Blitz is going to remain an issue unless Hanwha get to the point where they have full control of the map, right? Which, thus far, haven't seen yet as
yeah, goodbye.
Down it goes.
50 gold.
Significant win, but not going to be too impactful in the grander scheme of things.
Also, a lot of the gold for Gen.G is on Panther,
yes,
which obviously not really where you want it.
And I think the gold lead that Delight has is relatively more valuable in a lot of ways, but it's a larger gold lead that he's holding, but they also have the Viper angle as a nice Bellows Breath.
Very nicely timed. It didn't look like he had any vision or a thought that would be there, so he's just got a great reaction time. Maybe knew he was kind of going through the scary, visionless jungle.
I mean, this is a Victor that now has Leandri's completed. His stacks are done of the Rod of Ages, even though he doesn't have the Otacon to boot. Gets a free turret down there in the bottom side, and Hanwha Life Esports still relatively chilling as Chovy tries to trade for turrets, but is only able to get half.
Little moment of tension there. Delight on a ward, but always going to be fishing, always going to be looking, and these fights have been so explosive. Really feels like a single hook from either Delight or Duro can be the difference maker. And as I say that,
very close, gonna dodge everything. Actually, the laser on top of it is
TP?
now we got a TP. Zeus very far behind enemy lines. They want to turn onto him as the flash, and the hook is going to miss. As Zeus has to flash out of that one, the re-engage comes out from the horn, and the impale over the wall. Canyon straight into the wall himself, but he will not die. Peanut wants the kill, but he's flashing it at 4 people. There's Peanut. Not the time or the place, but they actually do get the kill.
What?
Funnily enough, I don't even know how he died.
how can you die?
Oh, we'll have to take a look at the replay as Canyon died to something.
Chovy still going
And a
forward.
burn. And yeah, I mean, the stun comes down on a Chovy. Lots of poke damage coming down from the Victor.
Guys, that's rude. We can't just summon the Maiden.
The light's right
and
here.
die immediately.
Yeah, 50 gold this time on a Zeka.
Now, there is no objective up after all of that, after our junglers are down.
Pure chaos.
So just a lot of chaos with the Chaos Storm coming out. And this was a bit of a bridge too far for Zeus. Does end up flashing, and yet Ruler goes face first into 4 people. Has to ult and flash, and that was a bit of a step too far.
It's Delight, right? Delight with the flash Q knocks him back over. So the rest of the team of Gen.G does his best to try and collapse onto Zeus, but Zeus is happy to draw the attention, and that's why Ruler gets caught by Delight. He ends up having to use his cooldowns, doesn't go down, but that does mean a lot of damage is out of the fight at the beginning of it. Really what all that means is a lot of sums are now down. Ruler not having his flash is a very big deal. No flash for Keen and Canyon either, but the same is the case for Zeus, for Peanut, and for Delight, and you have to imagine both of these two teams are going to be fighting. Hanwha Life want to get Soul Point, Gen.G want to deny it.
It's just wild to me that Delight's able to find that angle. After having such a great start in this game, maybe I shouldn't be, as he has just really been high impact. Same to be said of Duro, though, in some of these longer extended fights. Just helps chase and secure kills, as we are now grouping for a real objective. It has spawned. Hanwha Life looking for Soul Point here.
River first for Gen.G.
Yeah, Banana Brush control as well, but the Scuttler actually did go over to Hanwha Esports, so they have a lot of vision around this Baron, or rather this Dragon.
Turret's going to go down, it looks like, as well.
Yep.
Peanuts there.
Turret should go down. Might just come down to a flip, and it goes over to the Saya of all people. 3-man knockup comes in from the Yorn, and that's Yorick down. Keen just out of the play, and HLE say, well, we got the pick. Rotate big time up towards the top side of the map.
Yeah, they want to grab this mid turret, it looks like here, just push this wave in and look for a siege. They can clear this ward super quickly. I just don't think Gen.G can come up to save it. So more than just a kill here onto the Yorick, they will grab that turret as well.
Look at how deep Chovy is pushing. I think he has to be really worried. Ornn's there. He might be in deep trouble. That could be Nash if he dies.
He's so fucked down the lane. Oh boy. Well, Chovy, you've cooked some great stuff before, but I'm not sure this is it. As you've got a Skarner, you've got a Pike, everything is missing for some reason, as a big ult does hit too. But eventually, you're just going to have too much damage on top of you, as they're going to give the kill over to Zeka as well. And he is nearly 1,000 gold ahead now.
There are a few question mark pings on the Baron, but no one's on it. Obviously, Gen.G can't use Chovy to do Baron there without his damage, as this is another near smite for Peanut, but it's really the triple knockup that helps isolate the Yorick here, so no one else can follow up to protect or peel. They go straight to the mid turret, and then Chovy greeds here inside and is taken out.
And my guess is that Chovy thought that they were all moving towards Nash, so he wanted to threaten an inner turret and then TP towards a play if they do actually go for it, because they don't have that much vision in the jungle. Instead, obviously, gets collapsed on heavily. Hanwha Life had the response ready, very nicely done on their end. Third item is done for Chovy and for Ruler, but Hanwha Life are firmly taking control of this game. And a game 5 might be on the horizon here. And it was the Light's hook that set up that pick onto Keen as well.
Yeah, it just makes it 100% certain that they were going to get that Yorick, who, as frontliners go, Yorick not exactly the best. They don't have much outside of maybe the Pantheon, but they were just kind of all lining up trying to take that Drake, and they got punished big time for it. HLE, 3,000 gold the lead at this point in time.
Zeka doesn't even have his ornament yet. You know, this is the composition that's going to get stronger and stronger as this game continues to progress. He's level 16. Again, despite the Otacon going over to Gen.G, Hanwha Life just going toe-to-toe in terms of experience, and this next fight is likely over the Baron. And Ruler does have his flashback up. This is a huge tool that he will likely need, especially with how these hooks have been going here for Delight. And speaking of,
thanks to, I think it was Ruler that actually ended up securing the Dragon in the last fight.
Oh, the Feather Pull.
It is a guaranteed soul denial otherwise, or soul point rather, otherwise Hanwha Life would have had that. Keen is in the side lane, pushing to his heart's content. Hanwha gonna be looking to try and pick someone off. Canyon needs to be very careful here. Even with Izzy, he's an easy target to collapse upon.
Yeah, you can see all the vision denial with this Pike. It's just so oppressive. They're still going to try to get Keen in a side lane and get this pressure going and hope that, you know, he can pull Zeus away, but Zeus doing a pretty good job of just clearing the waves and not really interacting too much with Yorick, mostly just with the Maiden. To the chagrin of Yorick, of course.
Hanwha Life, they don't have to force the Baron. They have so much vision around it that it's basically there's no way Gen.G could sneak it out underneath them, and they can just continue to sit back and farm out some of these additional items. The arm guard for Zeka can be turned into Vizonia soon, but he has that safety now. This is just the full composition here for a Hanwha Life nearly online. Once Zeus hits level 16, it is just going to be nigh impossible. And that's where the Blitzcrank insurance policy comes through, right? Maybe Duro makes a miracle happen in this game.
There's also Pike, who just becomes harder to play as the game progresses, right? You are going to get one-tapped by basically anything that hits you. That's what the Edge of Night has come through for the Light. That is a big spike for him, and with the way he's been playing thus far, I think the trust that his team has clearly given him is warranted. Really, the only scary thing for Hanwha Life is if you do start up the Nash, that could be where Gen.G can just fish for a pull, right? Everyone grouped up around that objective. We have Soul Point fight. It's possibly there, but neither team really wants to commit too heavily to that, because if you commit to that, guess what? Other team might get Baron.
Every time this mid wave gets cleared, look at the top wave. Gen.G don't know what's going on around the Nash pit, right? So they have to be very careful. They're constantly grouped up here, and Hanwha Life are just sitting on that prio so incredibly well. And I mean, even now, Zeka has been able to rotate over here. getting closer and closer to level 16 for Zeus, just spending as much time as he can, grabbing that final bit of experience. And this is a really tense moment here for Gen.G. They had so much control in the series. They were up 2-0.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, you're feeling really bad at Gen.G if you do lose it, but now they're just going to send it into the Baron. And the second the Dragon spawns, we'll see if this works out for them as they're kind of lined up in the bowling alley as two of them get knocked up by the Ornn. They pull off of the Baron, and now Keen is zoned away from the rest of the team. HLE staying together as a 5-man unit. As we do see a bit
Jovi's
of a
behind
flank
them.
coming in from Jovi, but that's a Cassiopeia flank. Not the most dangerous thing I've ever seen, but now trying to get the engage going onto this front line. Zeus is going to be burnt down. There's nobody's there. They were staying together, and then they split up as they were following Keen. Hook goes down onto Keen, and now Peanut's in a really rough spot. He's going to be taken down, and the amount of damage Gen.G is being they're just not paying attention to it at all.
It's 1 by 1, as we said earlier. The hook from Duro is the difference again as Jovi finds the flank, sets up the miasma, and they have enough damage. That's going to be Nash.
Hanwha Life just have to take this concession of getting Soul Point in exchange. There's no way they can fight this anymore. They don't have a jungler. And the chase, the over-chase onto Keen there is part of the undoing, but it's really the Duro grab that changes things here for Gen.G, and they set it all up. They were the ones who started the Baron looking for a turn, and Hanwha Life just did not have the cleanest chase down there. They didn't have the cleanest denial of that Baron, and now with Baron, Keen's going to take out this inner turret. The game is suddenly turned on its head in just a matter of seconds.
I mean, it's anybody's game from here, but you gotta like Gen.G's chances after this play where they're just able to isolate the front target. Any target they can burst through, they have the damage.
He's like, okay, I knock him up, I pull him in. He's split in half, and then now Keen's like, I'm baiting them in as well, and the rest of the team is cut off.
It just starts with Canyon, the most skillful Pamphid. Flash W. They get Zeus, the miasma follow-up is there, then is the hook. And even if you're the tankiest member on Hanwha Life, as we see there, that was, by the way, before LDR was done. Jovi is also about to finish his next item. And Hanwha Life, the team fighting power is still there. There is still a fat pike. They just need to be so careful, because if anyone gets singled out, they're in trouble. But I think they still have the 5v5 power if they can find the front to back, instead of getting picked off 1 by 1.
Zeus running straight into them. Nice culling to do some damage, and that's a hook on a Canyon, but that is the Pantheon, and Zeus who has to flash away, but Canyon goes down! At the end of the day, this Pike is about to get some big value. Looking for Duro. That's a second one on the board! Delight, he is here to party. He says, this game is mine, and I want to carry it. Zeus going in, maybe trying to take that away from Delight. Gotta be careful. This Delight's still on the chase here. He's gonna find Keen on the backside, not gonna land that hook, and just disengages out of there, but still so much money given back over to HLE.
And it takes away from the Rebel Baron power play. That's a lot of tempo gone. They hold on to their mid lane turret at Hanwha Life, swing back, get back control of the gold lead as well, as this game 4 clearly not done yet.
And they overextend because they want to get the most value out of this Baron possible, because even though they secure the Baron, as we've talked about the wave clear, the insane team fighting power is there, and so they want to try to make something more of this. They see, okay, maybe Viper overextends, but they engage onto the Ornn, and that's so problematic here. Not the right call from Canyon. There's not enough follow-up. Chovi's not really in range, and like, even if you have everyone here, like Zeus is just so tanky, the turn is insane because this Lucian is fully online. The mid Victor is fully online, and you just cannot be making overextensions like that. That takes all the wind out of Gen.G's sails, and look at Ruler's face on the player cam. Like, they know this was really their one chance to maybe just close this finals out now, and it falls completely flat.
Was the follow-up from Zeka there as well, having the W ready, making sure that Canyon couldn't just walk his way out of there. But it's also understandable for Gen.G, because outside of Duro fishing for hooks, it's either him or Canyon needs to find someone. That's the way their comp works. They need to pick them off 1 by 1. Barring overextensions from Hanwha Life, which I think we shouldn't be expecting with how they've been team fighting, into a Cassio ult, there really isn't that much CC available, right? We're talking about the feather pool, which requires a lot of setup. We're talking about the cage, which isn't that great. So I understand why Gen.G wanted to push it, but Hanwha Life with a great response. Mid lane turret still standing 35 minutes in.
Take a look at the itemization from the front line here of HLE as well. Just Randuin's picked up for Peanut and Thornmail for Zeus, and you think about the Xayah just getting poked out by Lucian, Culling, and also the Victor. We haven't seen Ruler. You know, he's doing some damage to the front line when they're charging into them, but that's not going to win you the game.
You got to be able to kill the carry somehow.
Yeah.
Killing the Ornn and the Skarner just takes too long, but they can't get access. It's similar to the Smolder situation as Light's going to fish here, but won't be successful. But when you look at the Victor's itemization as well, and you're like, okay, he's got a decent amount of damage here, but also his safety is immense. He has the Zonius, he has the Rod of Ages, he's so difficult to take out. It's going to take some time there. He's level 18, has that extra ornament as well.
Oh, get the Edge of Night. What is big for Hanwha Life is that they have soul points. So they have a lot more pressure in this upcoming objective. They can force Gen.G to make a move, and Gen.G really want to set up to an objective first. If they can do so, as the flash.
Yeah, the pixel flash there just to get away from the hook. It's going to work. He doesn't get over the wall, but it's not really what he cares about. Meanwhile, on the side lane, Zeus having some trouble with this. Yora Keen seems to be online himself with 3 items, and he is chunking through this Ornn, so
That cleaver.
they're going to have to deal with him somehow. It's not going to be Zeus alone.
And that gets Prio, and this is going to force a response.
Yeah, Hanwha's on
By
a
the way,
timer.
they
They have
can't
to be quick.
respond.
They have to be quick.
Okay, that's a lot of damage into Ruler, but the culling goes into Duro. That's not the target you were looking for.
King's gonna keep going. He's not gonna stop.
Hanwha need to be fast on how they win this fight.
Yeah, it should just be inhibitor, you would imagine. Down it goes as we'll see what happens with the TPs, but now we're just gonna have a 4v4 team fight at this point, and it comes down to the Xayah as Ruler steals it away. I mean, they were the one who started it, but yeah, no steal away from Peanut.
And Keen just gets away with this. Even if he dies here, his job is done. He avoids the second activation.
Oh, there's 5 men coming.
TP coming in. They have to,
no way.
Oh, they stopped the channel with the ult from the Victor, and this is right before the Baron. As he's trying to turn this one around on Azeka. I don't think so, buddy. Flashes for that one. And now he's down for a minute with Baron up in 12 seconds.
It feels to me like Gen.G should have pushed further there. They needed to apply pressure so that not everyone on Hanwha could just run towards that top lane. And now Hanwha Life, they only lost the Dragon, and they might get a Baron as in return.
And this is such an easy turn here for Hanwha Life. They have the Impale. Duro just fishing for a hook. He wants to get one of these carries. He so desperately needs to.
He really does, but I don't know if he's going to have an option. The culling is just used to zone. Delights in stealth as well. Duro looking for some kind of hook. They want to access that backline, but the peel is insane. Canyon getting on in, goes into his jam, and bull hook Zeka though. As maybe that's enough. Might just come down to a flame. It goes to the again! But Ruler will not be denied these objectives. And he's full health.
He just keeps getting them. But he might have just saved the game. He's able to secure the Baron. Zay is desperately on the chase here with Viper following up and Delight. Not enough.
Instead, he's just desperately giving kills over to Ruler. He says Ruler hasn't had enough. Let's give him some more.
They have to look for something. They know that this Baron might be with the top lane push, with the death timers. Could be the difference maker. Gen.G somehow pull out the win out of the 4v5.
Yeah, I mean, Ruler is just pulling these objectives out of thin air. And Ruler, level 18, is going to be ripping this turret off the map. That top inhibitor is already down here. I don't think they'll be able to push for the mid one right now, but they can take out all of those inner turrets. It's a big injection of gold. Less important right now at nearly 40 minutes in.
Keen. Pike's on his way.
They want to try to isolate the Yorick once again, but the disengage code gets him to safety. And not much you can do about that. Would have been nice to pick him up. There's no big objective, but maybe you take some power out of the Baron push.
And it's the play from Ruler here on top of, like, Canyon sacrifices, but the grab on the Zeka is massive because that's a lot of damage gone here. And then when Ruler's able to secure the Baron with this ult from Chovy as well to deny any sort of follow-up, now, even though Delight gets one reset, they just cannot team fight without Zeka.
It's Duro, flash, rocket punch. That's what sets up the play. That's what takes out one of the carries. And I can't believe we haven't mentioned it yet, but it's a 2-carry composition. Victor cannot be dying at the start of that fight, especially with flash up.
That's just not allowed, but he's just caught off guard. And luckily, he is Victor. He was able to push out some of that top lane. He has a ton of weight there to help defend this Baron. There's only a minute left. A minute left here on this Baron, and Gen.G wanted more.
Just such a close game throughout all of it.
It's not even game over. The Baron.
It's not, no.
They don't even have Elder spawning yet.
Yeah, we got a minute on this Rebel Baron power play. But you can see that Gen.G aren't exactly confident. Okay, that is very nice Bell's Breath, just in case. I think it was barely out of range, but still going to be denied. You see that Gen.G, they don't really have enough pressure just yet with this Rebel Baron power play, especially because Keen doesn't have Baron himself. And so you're kind of just pushing, you're getting the gold lead back, but we're 40 minutes into the game, so you're not,
the gold
not winning
matters
the game. Yeah.
way less, and I think Gen.G are happy with what the end result of the play and the grab on the Zeka was, but I don't think they're happy with what they got here. They're still in a position where they have a lot of map control, a lot of vision was gained from this, but they, I think, wanted really to get a pick from this with Duro and then end the game, because the scaling elements are still online here for Hanwha Life, and it feels like maybe it's any rocket grab that could end this game, right? It's any pike hook or potentially a flanking Skarner. But in terms of just straight up raw 5v5 power with these ornaments here, I don't think it gets much better than what Hanwha Life Esports have. You've got to avoid those hooks if you're Zeka, if you're Viper. They both have flash. 30 seconds until finally a soul will be decided here in this game.
You're playing Pyke without map control though, and that is the biggest difference. Even though Gen.G weren't able to end the game off of this, top lane inhib is still down, right? Will be coming up soon as Keen takes a ton of damage.
There's a lot of poke going back and forth, but now we finally get an Impale engage, but Canyon his Pantheon lives for so long, and the damage from the Xayah and the Casio is way too much for the Ornn to deal with.
They gotta get out of it!
Last follow-up from Toby is gigantic, goes Golden, and the hook comes through, and that should be it. Gen.G with one fell swoop might have just won this game.
10,000 damage for Ruler! 10,600! He had the smite button in this game, and his damage is off the charts. Who says the Victor scales? This Xayah is the biggest on the Rift.
Feel like the Blitzcrank is scaling better than the Victor in this one. As Viper, he's desperate, he's trying to clear the waves, but he's not gonna have it. Gen.G get the revenge for last summer, and they are your 2025 LCK Finals champion.
And Ruler leaves for the LPL, has an incredible first year on JDG, the second year not what he wanted.